What's up, Falcons Nation? NFL fans, it's your boy Jew coming at you with another Atlanta Falcons video. As always, Falcons Nation, rise up. In today's video, I would like to talk about Byron Murphy, but if you're new to the channel, please hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell so you'll know when I've done Atlanta Falcons content or NFL content. If you'd like to follow your boy on Twitter and Instagram, you can follow me at Jew Talk Sports. And if you'd like to donate to my channel, you can donate to my Cash App, which is the $ Jew Talk Sports. And if you'd like to be a part of my Jew Talk Sports membership, you can hit that join tab here on the channel as well. But with that being said, let's jump right into the video. So as I mentioned in today's video, I do want to talk about Byron Murphy, and could Byron Murphy be the Atlanta Falcons' first round draft pick? So there has been rumors that have come out today that Byron Murphy could possibly be picked in the top 10 in this upcoming NFL draft. As you guys know, the draft is about a week away, next Thursday. And Byron Murphy is one of those guys that I think could be a sleeper pick in the top 10 and possibly be picked at 8 by our Atlanta Falcons. Personally, I would go with an edge rusher over Byron Murphy, but he is one of those guys that I did a prospect video on. And if the Falcons were to draft Byron Murphy, I think that they should trade back. I wouldn't pick Byron Murphy at 8 because I believe that he will still be on the board later in the first round or possibly early in the second round. But he is one of those guys that goes about 6'1", 297 pounds. And he is a very disruptive, interior defensive lineman. He did play at the University of Texas, played that 3 technique and also played a little bit of the nose tackle position. But he is a guy that's similar to a Grady Jarrett or a Ed Oliver that's currently in the NFL. Was a guy that didn't have a ton of sacks in college. I believe last season he had about 5 sacks with the Texas Longhorns. But he is one of those guys that's really disruptive, like a Grady Jarrett. He is one of those guys that's a smaller 3 technique and nose tackle, similar to Grady Jarrett. But he is one of those guys that is very physical, has very quick short area quickness, but a very strong player, a guy that does disrupt things as far as stopping the run, and very disruptive as a pass rusher. He is one of those guys, like I mentioned, that's similar to Grady Jarrett. His NFL comparison was Ed Oliver that plays for the Buffalo Bills. So he is one of those guys that can get sacks from that nose position and that 3 tech position. But I feel like at 8, that would be too high to take a Byron Murphy. You guys know that I'm huge on drafting guys in the trenches. And I definitely think that he could be the best 3 tech in this upcoming draft. He was one of those guys that didn't get a lot of shine due to him playing next to T'Vondre Sweat. T'Vondre Sweat is pretty much the guy that everybody's talking about at the University of Texas. But Byron Murphy was one of those guys that to me stood out. He jumped off the tape when I watched his film and watched his highlights. He is one of those guys that I think could be a playmaker and a game changer. As I mentioned, I really don't believe in drafting 3 techs and nose tackles that high in the draft at 8 or in the top 10, unless he turns out to be like an Aaron Donald, where, he turns out to be like a generational type pass rusher, a generational type player. I think it's a little bit too rich to take him at that 8th pick, but I definitely could see him being picked maybe in the later first round or possibly early in the second round, because he is one of those guys that I do believe could turn into a really good NFL player. And he is one of the better prospects in this draft as far as being that 3 tech, being that nose tackle, being a guy that you can move around on your defensive line. But if I were the Falcons, as I mentioned, I would prefer the Falcons still going after one of these top edge guys, like a Latu, like a Jared Verse, or like a Dallas Turner. But I definitely could see the Falcons picking up Byron Murphy if they think that he could be an Aaron Donald type, if they think that he's that dominant. We know that Raheem Morris did coach the LA Rams. He coached Aaron Donald. So if they think, that he has, some of the characteristics of an Aaron Donald, if they believe that he could be as dominant as an Aaron Donald, then I could see the Falcons drafting him at 8. But if it was me personally, I wouldn't take him at 8. If the Falcons really like him that much, I would trade back in the draft, and then I would draft him maybe between the teams. So if I were the Falcons, I would trade back and try to get more draft capital, because I don't believe that it's many teams that are in the first round that'll take Byron Murphy that early in the draft. But with that being said, you guys give me your thoughts on Byron Murphy. Could he be one of those guys that the Atlanta Falcons draft in this upcoming draft? As I mentioned, he is very disruptive. He is a game changer. And if you were to bring him in and pair him up with Grady Jarrett, pair him up with David Onyemata, and some of those guys that we have on the inside of this, interior of our defensive line, I definitely think he could be one of those guys that could add some depth to this Atlanta Falcons team, and definitely be one of those guys that could be one of the playmakers in our front seven. But with that being said, this being your boy Jew, I have a lot more content coming for you guys. But as always, Falcons Nation, rise up, be blessed. Peace.